Let's do an installation of funnest delusions in psychotropy, right? So, hey, beloved. So, funnest delusions in psychotropy. Funnest one, I got power from touching the hand of a warlock that was initiated in a certain path that gave me the ability to make lots of things sigils, turn things that weren't into sigils, and activate them for the spirito-demonic dump that happens for those who see them, because they get access to certain spirito-demonic enterprise, and you get them through your eye by looking at the sigil, if you're initiated in a certain direction. That, I drew a bullseye circle with a cross through it, with the black and white. There was something like that in our area. That was all over power lines. Had to take them all off. It was a placard. Like this thing was like a plastic cast placard that was like bolted to a concrete like light or whatever. They were everywhere. Now they're gone. But I saw them after I made them. I was like, no way I can make a thing of a sigil, right? I drew it. I saw it waving. Then all of a sudden they're gone. And they took them all off of every pole, right? Crazy. Is there a reason for that? I don't know. Okay, so the other cool one was I thought I could get the HTPTA, hypothalamic pituitary axis demon, to get my body back into. And it's actually doing that on its own without doing too much work. I think there's something to it. All I had to do is sigil Terry Crews. So I sigiled Terry Crews through a process and believe I got access to the HTPTA demon, right? Which acts under hypothalamic pituitary axis. And, it's like GH and stuff. Your body kicks it on, right? But what it's like a demon that's sitting there flicking at it. It's a spirit that, once it starts deregulating, it kind of gives it a little, spirits do that. Divine sparks that you can get access to. They can add attributes. Think of supernatural natural attributes, right? Freaky weird things, right? Got that one. That one was fun because I believe I got something from that. I also believe I got something from, what's the other one? There was a couple of cool delusions I had. Oh yeah, John Candy that gave me all sorts of information concerning how to make fun of Rob Schneider, how to make fun of a bunch of people in comedy and stuff, and drop them comments to see if, somebody gets excited about my vulgar, cleaned up comedy and want me to help them write some stuff, right? And come up with situational comedy and stuff, and shtick, like all sorts of progressive, intelligent, psycho wave forms of comedy that require thought and don't have to have so much vulgar layout, right? A little more classy, right? Still kind of vulgar, like it's like dad. The concept is trying to make the dad joke reach all culture, kind of, right? And that concept of building a joke that doesn't have to be as dirty, but has connotations of kind of raunchy humor, right? Kind of like, I like that lane. That lane's cool. Got access to a bunch of that through Hagaith, which is a sigil in Arbitel, right? And I got access to a shitload of previous actors and stuff. A lot of Canadians for some reason. SCTV. Also got access to Vincent Price and Salvador Dali, who, yes, did in great detail tell me their experience with a Spanish prostitute, a female Spanish prostitute for masculine sex. They both shared, which at the time they did not have a word for pegging, right? So I guess that's what that was, right? So it was described to me that's what that was, and they were both doing that back and forth, and then of course having normal intercourse with that Spanish prostitute in Spain, right? Obviously, right? Because wasn't in Vegas. Weird, right? So I got access to that. What's the other cool delusion? And we'll put this one up. Those are the coolest delusions were the ones from my pineal gland access, which is through the Arbitel of magic. If you guys can get access to the Arbitel or get initiated through Kabbalah, because really it's the foundation's Kabbalah and the Solomonic magic. Access through the Arbitel is still using the Solomonic master calendar. You have to know how the vernal precession, how the part of the year you're in, the midheaven as it passes through the zodiac, what you're looking for, what you're trying to do, and what you're accessing. In ease, in Arbitel, there are several sigils that you get access to as it spins. The big five, right? The Olympian spirits, right? So it's going to be Saturn, Mars, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter. So the Arbitel of magic deals with those big five. Very clean magic. Don't have to do nothing weird. You just have to create a relationship with the big five, right? The Olympian spirits, connect with the persona of their astrology. Hey, listen, the foundation of actual building is the time astrological, spirio-demonic, physico-vehicle process, which is the body, the sky, the land, the sun and moon, the zodiac, the things that access here, right? That's our access. Our access above, there's a astrology of the body, astrology of the sky, an astrology of the land, astral cartography. They all have influence on the gross material experience in the body and in the exterior of the body, right? And we categorize those things, right? And that's how we can formulate opinion about certain area, certain concept, certain authority, certain power, certain attainment, right? We can silo it to a individual power, right? That being said, the big five are the planets. The spirits come from those planets, right? I know it's weird. Light's the vehicle for it, right? For us to be able to get all access to it, right? Wherewith the spirits from those planets get access to us. The gross reality, the physical, it's flexible. They get access to you, you get access to them. You can go through it, living a whole life not recognizing it because your astrology is kind of set to get affected by the astrology of things around it, relative, right? Like a thing with a certain charge getting around things with similar charges and stuff, and it affects it, and as it passes by, even in wave, and affects it even in attraction, even in repulsion, in macro and micro, not just at the molecular level, but at the psycho-spiritual and attention level, right? Because attention is relative to the spirio-demonic access you have to your exterior world, which can be developed by your mind, right? Your charisma and stuff like that gets access. Being able to figure out how to formulate opinion, put things together, put it up in a video, that's an access point. That's a medium. That's a development, right? All those things, most people don't have that. You have to develop it, right? It takes time, consideration, application, effort, right? That's the Saturn of this world. The constant effort into a direction. Those are the things in this life, I believe, in this age, are the only things that are directional benefit. We believe financing and all the other stuff's going to go really weird. And we're going to see a dissolve, a dissolution, and a major change, right? Because that's what happens at the end of the age. We haven't had the big kicker yet. We've got all the war and funny stuff that indicates an age change. But we haven't had a big shake-up where the author of the experience changes. My offer on that, someone's going to make a king in America and get rid of the royals of Brits, because we're actually under them. We get rid of them and make a king here, and we can have access to some wild stuff. We get nothing here. The technology is to make up for the spiritual stuff we don't get, which is amazing. You don't want bulky technology. You want the spirit stuff that never lies, never screws up, never messes, right? Where AI is. How about AI, or I give you access to all the people that ever were here, that ever were, right? That had all the information. That is even better than the thing, is more accurate because they were there applying things. You're like, oh, you don't do it that way because there's a reason for that. The computer doesn't know that. They're going to tell you, oh, that's a way. Well, with the materials that have been here, They're saying these things have been done before. The actions, how we do things with these things has been done before because we were able to iterate the actions into speech, right? So we can formulate it in the mind, has been here, and we can recreate it, right? Mind power. So that's what we talk about when we're talking about accessing through the Arbitel of Magick or the Big Five, your planetary powers. You definitely want the sun and moon, but your planetary powers are that sprinkle of extra that the spiritual mind can push you into developing something new, right? Always drawing something in, or moving your awareness to something that can be drawn in and developed, right? So some thoughts. All right, later, beloved. A little bit of my delusions, and then a little recap on kind of how we're doing with astrology and magic, right? You got to know what time you're in, where you're at, what you're doing, what you're accessing. Right? Later, beloved.